Good morning. This is video 2 for today, talking about inscribed angles. If you haven't noticed, what we are doing in these worksheets is a lot of review of what we did last week, just kind of getting it ingrained more in your brain. So inscribed angles, remember you can look at the notes in the notebook or you can watch this video or both if you need it. So inscribed angles means that the vertex is on the circle. So notice the angle has a vertex here. When you have the angle, so your formula is going to be half of your arc will equal your angle, or you can say 2 times your angle will equal your arc. Okay. So in this case, if we want to look at some exercises, it says RS is congruent to TV. There's parallel, I'm sorry. Parallel. RT is congruent to SV, which it shows us. Name the intercepted arc for RTS. So what arc does it create? So if I go to RTS, I notice that it looks like this. The arc that is between the two sides of the angle are right here. So the arc it creates is RS. Best way to look at it is just which section of the circle is between the ends of the angle. All right. And then it says name an angle that intercepts SV. So here is SV. We need to find one angle, could be a couple of them, that goes back. So if I want to go this way. Here's one of them. It ends at that end. And I need to find something that ends at V and intersects that. So if I look, I can say the angle SRV created that arc. There are other options. That's just the first one that I saw. Okay, so what you need to do is you need to find something that ends on this side and will intersect each other. Okay, so these questions right here are all based off of the same circle. So I'm going to go back to the circle and I'm going to fill out what I can. Okay, so it says the arc SV is 120 and the RPS is 76. Okay, I'm going to zoom in and find out everything I possibly can before I try to answer any of the questions. So I zoomed way in. Okay, so remember central angles, the angle and the arc it creates are going to be the same measurement. So my angle is 76. The arc it creates is also going to be 76. Okay, if I want to figure out the angles that created this one. Okay, so we said earlier that VRS created it. It's going to be half of that arc, so half of 120 is 60. See what else creates it. So I can go to STV. Okay, that one's also going to be half. So it's got to be 60 degrees. Okay, these are parallel. Okay, what we talked about in the last video, since SV and RT are congruent, the arcs that they create are also going to be congruent. So this one's also got to be 120. Okay. If we want to find out what is left in this circle right here, that's all that's left. We've talked about every other segment. Remember, it's going to equal 360. So 360 minus 120 minus 120 minus 76. So 300, sorry, I have the hiccups today. 360 minus 120 minus 120 minus 76 will give me 44. So this arc is 44 degrees. We put degrees on these because these are all talking about degrees. Okay, if I want to figure out some angles based off of that, notice that this arc is created by angle TSV. It's going to be half. So the arc is 44, the angle is 22. Same thing on the other side. I noticed TRV created that arc. So if the arc is 44, the angle has to be 22. Okay. Let's see if that's enough information to get us through. We might be coming back. All right. Angle PRS. So angle PRS. Right here, we wrote that it was 60. Arc RSV. So I have 76 and 120 for a total of 196. Arc RT was congruent to the other side, so it was 120. Angle RVT. We did not do RVT, but if I zoom in real quick to look at it, RVT created this arc of 120, so it's going to be half of that, so 60 degrees. Angle QRS. Okay, so we didn't quite do that one either. We can come back to that one in just a minute. STV. So STV we said was 60 degrees. Arc TV we said was 44. And measure of angle SVT. We didn't quite figure that one out either. All right, so SVT, we'll do that one real quick while we're here. So SVT, notice that it created this whole arc, which we said was 196. Half of 196 is going to be 98. All right, and the last thing we need to figure out was angle QRS. Okay, so angle QRS. Okay. Oh, so we figured out VRS earlier. Sorry, I'm blank for a second. VRS is the same angle as QRS. The only difference is that one side of the angle isn't as long, but we have the same measurement, which we already had was 60. So notice how I looked at the picture and I found all of my information first. Finding all the information first and then going back and answering the questions makes it a whole lot easier, so I'm not going back and forth trying to find out my information. Okay. Inscribed polygons. So whenever you have an inscribed polygon, if an angle of an inscribed polygon intercepts a semicircle, so half the circle, it's going to be a right angle. If it's quadrilateral, remember quadrilaterals means four sides. Then opposite angles are supplementary. Remember supplementary means it totals 180 degrees. Okay, so opposite angles will equal 180 degrees. So A and C are supplementary. So are B and D. Okay. If it is a right triangle, remember we can use Pythagorean theorem to find our missing side, and a squared plus b squared equals c squared. All right, do a few examples here. Okay, so find the measure of each angle. So it is a quadrilateral, and a quadrilateral opposite sides are supplementary, opposite angles. So these two are my opposite. 120 plus what number equals 180? So this is going to be 60. 55 and another number equal 180. This is going to be 125. So measure of angle X is 125. Y is 60 because opposite angles are supplementary. AD, so we are trying to find this missing side right here. That it split the circle in half. Because it splits the circle in half, I know this is a right triangle because that's a right angle. To find the missing side of a right triangle, we use Pythagorean theorem. 5 squared is 25. 12 squared is 144. 25 and 144 is 169. Of course, we're going to take the square root, and C equals 13. So the whole length of this is 13, but my question only asked me for AD, okay, which we can see is half of it. Half of 13 is 6.5. So be careful answering the question. I almost answered for AC, but it asked me for AD. Right? Measure of angle 1 and measure of angle 2. So I'm going to break it down and look at just this right triangle down here. I know it is a right triangle because it splits it into 2 equal pieces. So this is a right angle. Okay. Remember there are 180 degrees in a triangle. So I have 90 plus 40 plus my unknown angle is going to equal 180. 130 plus some number equals 180. I know this is going to be 50 degrees. And angle 2, I know this has to be a right angle because it did split the triangle or the circle into 2 equal pieces. Okay, so 90 degrees. Okay. Question 4, we're finding the measurement of angle 1 and 2. Okay. So a couple different options. There's lots of stuff going on, but I'm going to break it down into something that looks a little easier to recognize. So if I look at this triangle, I use my diameter, so split it in half. That tells me this is a right angle. I have this measurement here at 65. In order to find angle 2, we know they have to total 180. So 180 minus 65 minus 90 gives me 25 degrees. Okay, and I can actually do the same thing on angle 1. This is also going to be 25 degrees because it's basically the same triangle, just flipped upside down. All right, and I think we're starting to catch the drift of this. Quadrilateral for number 6. Opposite sides have to be supplementary. So this one will be 88 degrees. In order to find angle 2, notice these two are parallel lines. You could say this is my transversal. That means 1 and 2 are consecutive interior. It's amazing how things come back. Consecutive interior have to also be supplementary. And this one just happens to be 92. Okay. Come back to this one. So to find AB and AC are my goals. Oops, I changed color. Okay. I notice AC is my diameter. I can't use Pythagorean theorem right this second because I don't have enough information. Okay. I do see that these two pieces are congruent. So this is 3 square root of 3. I can use my trig functions to find a missing side because it gives me an angle of 30 degrees. Okay. I also see that this is going to be 60 degrees total. These angles have to be congruent because they're these two segments are congruent. So they're going to end up being 60 degrees also, which tells me that all of the sides are the same. Okay. And then from there, I can either use Pythagorean theorem, break it up into 2 smaller triangles. So I could use this piece to find a missing side, or I can look at the larger one. Okay, and I can find enough information to use Pythagorean theorem and or my trig functions. All right, please let me know if you have any questions.